Yeah, so Running Through Roses, the first single, released on the 5th of March.
Yes, right as the pandemic was getting properly serious.
Well, yeah, that was when it was written. It was released exactly a year later. So that's interesting because that really marks that the first song was released a year after it was written with 5 others. And yeah, dude, Running Through Roses, to me at least, it meant it's a life-changing decision. It's like a moment of a life-changing decision. And the funny thing with that, I felt, and that was sort of part of the song, is so many times you make a choice and it betters your life. You know what I mean? You're like, yo, I'm gonna stop eating like fatty foods or whatever. And what happens? You get thinner, you feel better, whatever. I'm gonna start sleeping at better times. What happens? You start feeling better. This outlined a moment in my life where I had to make a really difficult decision that would immediately make my life worse. And I didn't know if it was gonna get better, but I felt like, as honest as I was being with myself, I had to make the decision, you know?
Right.
It was the first time I had to do something like that, and maybe that's part of growing up or whatever, but it was hard, man. Like, and that song really captures that pivotal moment. It's like I haven't made that decision yet, and that's when I wrote the chorus and the verse. Right. And after that decision was made, I wrote the pre-chorus. But it was really interesting because that song stands on both sides of the decision. So I see it as something that has the decision within it, because you have the before and after inside it itself.
Right. Okay.
You're sort of standing there saying, "This is how I feel about this," and then you make that decision that changes that, and then you look back and you say, "Hey, I know you feel like this right now, but relax. It's gonna be okay."
Yeah, and I definitely think musically we're trying to not overdo it. I mean, it starts out very kind of solemn and acoustically, and I think we really wanted to just nail down the feeling of like sad hope.
Yeah, in many ways I didn't plan any of this. I'm happy that it comes over like that, especially because I guess I sent you so many tracks and it comes like this. And when I started it, it was just like an acoustic idea that came to me in that moment.
Yeah, it was just an acoustic. Yeah, that was the first thing I heard was just that acoustic guitar riff.
And that chorus as well, because I don't know how I came up with it. It sort of fell into my lap. And even that metaphor, when someone's like, "Where did that come from?" I don't know. I could really try to like go through it, because obviously I'm hiding behind the metaphor of something that's amazing, that everyone would say is like really good for you, and that I would agree is good for me, but it's not for me at this time. And just the fact that everyone else is like, "No, but it must be good for you," hurts me, because I know it's not for me at that moment. And that's thorn in my side. That's sort of what the camera, like the metaphor of like a photo shoot running through a field of roses. It must look amazing if you were on the cover of a magazine, but if you work with the best photographers, they're not going to show you the scars that you endure,
right,
trying to get that photograph, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's sort of the sacrifice you take. And at a certain point, you're like, dude, I can't keep doing this. Even though it's beautiful, even though it's something that really means a lot to me, somewhere it's hurting me, and I need to stop that pain. And it's that pain of like not wanting to let go, and that really sucks.
Exactly. And I think the fact that you kind of came up, like that metaphor came out of nowhere, kind of speaks to how honest it is. Because I feel like the most honest ideas, especially in songwriting, kind of come out of nowhere. Like when you're not specifically trying to search for something or think about something, it just kind of comes out whenever it comes out, you know?
Yeah, I think this whole EP was quite therapeutic. They're like,
definitely so.
It defines that moment, that whole time period. It was a difficult winter. There was like Corona going on, winter depression, just like not having anything to do, being locked in like a little ass room.
Super isolated, yeah.
And isolated in so many ways. It's such a slap in the face from how different things were a year ago.
100%.
Where this would have never happened.
Yeah. In my opinion, there's this overarching theme throughout the EP of just change. And I think that was kind of reflected in both of us. I think you were kind of going through a little more change at the time, but I was also in the process of moving houses. My family was moving 5,000 miles away. So I think the overarching theme of change is something that's kind of like is the glue for the EP. And I think Running Through Roses is a great song that kind of introduces that theme to everyone.
Yeah, and my favorite part of the song as well is the pre-chorus. I just love those chords.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know where that came from. Also, sort of just repeating that line, like throw them doubts away.
Yeah.
It's something I don't do. And just sort of that like really honest thing. It's just like I'm really telling someone like, hey, don't worry about anything.
Exactly.
Like if anyone made those mistakes, it's me, and I'm gonna take responsibility for the both of us. The only other thing, like while lyrics is I was really nervous when I wrote the last line, but it doesn't turn me on. You know?
Yeah.
Because nowadays it's such a sexual thing, and at that time it was like, yo, this thing that I'm dealing with, it doesn't fuel my fire. It doesn't turn me on. And I was really nervous. I really thought about changing it many times. And at a certain point I was like, you know what, it fits. It fits my message. It fits what I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to misinterpret it, I can't stop you.
Exactly.
This is my truth and I need to really just put it out there.
Yep,
you know?
100%.
And the funny thing is, I don't think anyone has thought about it like that. Like no one is, like I've never got a comment saying like, oh dude, like who you fucking, that doesn't turn you on, you know? It's never been that. It's always like, I feel like it's just like, okay, you know, I think in the solemnness of the song, the honesty of the song, in the mix, the instrumentation, and its sound, it fits.
Yeah, 100%.
And that turns me on.
But it doesn't turn me on. But it doesn't turn me on. We're running through roses, but the camera's high.